My name is Alexis Schwartz. I work in the Office of Alumni Relations, and I manage the Sally Portal program along with the Life After Rice series. Really excited to see y'all all here tonight. As I said, we have the Q&A and chat that you can utilize. We'll be monitoring that. And we are also, as you saw, we are recording this session. We'll be sharing that recording after the event is over. I'm now going to pass it over to Yvette McDissy, who can introduce herself, talk a bit about her role, and introduce our panelists.
Right, thank you, Alexa, and thank you all for joining us today, literally from all parts of the globe and in many different time zones. We have a special shout out to those who are tuning in the middle of the night or wee hours of the morning, and we really appreciate each and every one of your presence here. And we're also looking forward to answering your questions in the Q&A portion of the event, towards the end of the event. Thank you, Alexa, for organizing this event, for bringing us all here together to talk about being all together. And we are going to begin with introductions of the panelists, followed by questions about making the most of the Rice experience and questions about life after Rice. I will now begin by introducing myself and then ask each panelist to introduce themselves as well. So as you all know, or some of you might have already heard, my name is Yvette McDissy. I'm one of the Center for Career Development's Assistant Directors of Career Development. I have a passion for helping people find and make their places in the world, and I look forward to discovering how each of our Rice alum panelists have gone about finding and making their places in the world and throughout their Rice experiences. I currently develop and implement programming related to identifying and planning life after Rice, and I've worked with over 4,000 Rice students in one-on-one appointments as well as in workshops and events. Fun fact about me is that I'm of Lebanese descent, but I'm a born and raised Houstonian, and I've attended international schools in Houston my entire life. So I've brought an international perspective to career development. And now I'm going to ask each panelist to introduce themselves and share a fun fact about themselves. David, do you want to start?
Sure, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm David Hinojosa. I'm from Mexico City. I am an architect. I hold a master's degree from the School of Architecture. I have a first professional degree in Mexico, and that was my second professional degree. I did work for a number of, for a couple of US firms in Mexico, and also for a local firm in a very large project, which was the Mexico City World Trade Center. After some years, I started my own practice. I do everything from construction management all the way to design and turnkey projects. Well, I do enjoy very much playing tennis. I'm an avid tennis player. I do enjoy photography a lot, and I really do like keeping up with world events. For having me.
Thank you, David. Jingyi?
Hi, my name is Jingyi. I'm calling in from Hong Kong. So I went to Rice. I went to Sid Richardson, class of 2006. Right after school, I went up to New York and I did investment banking for about 9 years. After banking, I decided to switch into something that I really liked, and I went into a private investigations firm, which is where I am now. And so we do background checks and fraud investigations.
Hello, everyone. This is Ramesh. I'm a chemical engineer by background from India, and I went for my master's at Rice MBA program from 2010 to 2012. And 14, I moved back to India and I started the company called Monipro Solutions. And we provide smart manufacturing and digital solutions to chemical industries and oil and gas. So we have a very good alumni network here. We have got Facebook, LinkedIn, and WhatsApp pages. And if any alumni looking for connectivity based out of India, you can reach out to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Emma?
Hi, everyone. I'm Emma Wu calling in from Amsterdam. I attended Rice University in 2014 and studied chemical and biomolecular engineering. Upon graduation, I moved to Chicago to work in the long-term commercial strategy department at United Airlines, and just last year moved to Amsterdam to take on a new role within the network planning and pricing department. So a lot of my work now is mitigating the risks of COVID and finding other revenue opportunities. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you all for introducing yourselves and sharing a bit about your current role and what you're currently doing. If you'd be willing to now share a bit about your trajectory or decision process that you went through to get to where you're at today.
Well, I have to say it was quite a ride. When I came back to Mexico, I did follow opportunities rather than have a career plan. Of course, I studied architecture, but then upon my return, I was offered the opportunity by a gentleman who worked for BASF to open with him a company to produce coatings and paints in Mexico, buying technology from the leading company in Germany. So I jumped into that and I worked in that for quite a bit. And it turned out to be a great experience because I learned about business, which, as you know, is very important in any profession. I had to do the marketing and we had to do all the startup for the company. And after that, I was able to get back into architecture. As I said, a friend invited me into the World Trade Center project. He was going to be working on the competition. It was a developers competition rather than an architects competition. So we were developed by a group to do that. And well, we won the competition. So we worked for a number of years on that one. And then, well, the challenge in Mexico has always been the economic downturns as everywhere else, where it seems to be always like a roller coaster. So in '94, I'm getting to, well, I started doing marketing at the firm I was because I learned early enough that if I didn't get work, no matter if I was the owner or if I worked for someone else, I would not have any work. So I switched into marketing for a US firm, for HOK, and then afterwards moved into KMD out of San Francisco, where I was able to do a bit of everything. So I experienced the matrix organization of companies such as HOK, and then moved into a studio environment at KMD, and then I started my own practice finally, where I could make everything come together and expand into construction management, etc. So as you see, it was like building a wall. I'm going to use an architect's metaphor, where every brick and stone has allowed me to build a career at the end of the day. Thank you.
I love that metaphor, and I think I might be using that moving forward. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I think growing up, I always wanted to do something related to the energy and environmental sustainability space, and Chemie was the best program at Rice, so I wanted to take advantage of that. But after doing research for different engineering departments and working on some of the more technical projects for during my freshman and sophomore year, I realized that that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do post graduation. So I joined the CCD's externship program and got to learn a couple of different career paths related to consulting or just more business related fields, and that really piqued my interest. So I did a marketing internship in my junior year summer, and that really was I think one of my favorite experiences at Rice, and kind of helped me make that decision of doing something that's not really related to my major. And then I think similar to a lot of other people, just went through the typical undergrad recruiting process in the fall semester of senior year, and United was in the career fair, so it just kind of worked out that way.
Thank you, Emma.
I'm happy to go next. Mathematical economics at Rice. And I definitely thought I would be going into the tech field. And so for every summer, I would be doing internships, doing computer programming and things like that. And I think basically by senior year, I figured out that that was probably not the path for me. And so, being at Rice in a really good program with computer science, it gave me the opportunity to see, what that might look like in 10 or 20 years through the internships that I had. And so I decided to try investment banking. It was very different, but also took advantage of kind of the math and technical skills. And it was a good experience. I mean, obviously I didn't want to be a banker forever. But the 9 years that I did I learned a lot. It was like David said, kind of being able to see a lot of different things early in your career. That's really helpful. And then, in 2015, I had a hard think about what I really wanted to do, for my career. And I'd always had an interest in investigative journalism and private investigations. And at the time, I reached out to a couple companies. I think being at Rice taught me to be proactive about going after what I want. And so I reached out to a few companies and I met my current boss. And I decided that that would be a really fun and fulfilling career to have, especially in Hong Kong, like the US China stuff and, just China in general is a very interesting market. So I've been there ever since.
Nice, thank you.
So I'll next, so I did my master's program, and after my graduation, I worked there in Houston. I worked for Shell there, and I was working from here. But the program at Rice really helped me. Earlier I didn't have an idea before Rice about entrepreneurship. Like when I came to Rice, the entrepreneurship is very thriving. Youngsters, they're starting companies. But I was also volunteering for a lot of programs. I really enjoyed my time there. So which motivated me to think about like, why can't you be on your own? And it's really interesting. So that's how the idea actually, like I would say, it was planted at Rice. And then when I came back here, I started the company. It has been very exciting so far, a lot of new learnings. It is challenging, but we're doing good. We started at 2015, and it has been 5 years. So the journey is exciting. Yeah.
Nice. It's nice to see that everyone has had different journeys, but a couple of key themes that keep popping up is that you've all used your unconventional wisdom from your Rice experience in many different fields, gaining different skills and adapting or exploring additional options, and whether it's seeing what other industries you might want to go into or what business you might want to start. Those leadership skills, those communication skills, they seem to definitely have come in handy for y'all, building that wall, as David said, brick by brick throughout the process. So thank you for sharing that process of how you've gone about getting to where you're at right now. Looking back at your time at Rice, what would you say were some of the most formative experiences you had while at Rice that helped you advance in your career in this globalized world? David, I think you're saying something, but you're on mute.
Okay, sorry about that. My attention starting at Rice was how diverse it was even back in the mid-80s. And when I say diverse, it doesn't necessarily refer to religion, nationality, etc., but background. Everybody seemed to be different. Everybody seemed to be interesting. So I learned so much about my fellow students, not only from my professors. Then the next thing was, well, anything seemed possible. At the time the computer design class was magnificent, because rather than teaching us how to use the tool, they learn us how to program, so that we will understand how it works and we could be able to manage what other people do and what the future would look like. Well, some of the things they taught us and they predicted are just beginning to go into the market and are not really fully operational. So that was really a big impact. And also, I have to say, we had every Monday a lecture to start the week off, and we had some of the most distinguished architects in the world. We had people from George Lucas who were doing the animations. We had such a strong motivational environment that would really keep you spinning at night.
I'm happy to go next. So I went to a science and technology high school. And so going into Rice, I definitely had a one-track mind. You know, I was going to go study computer science, which I did, but, you know, kind of go all the way through with a tech career. And one of the things that actually I really didn't like going in freshman year was we had, the degree, the requirements for the degree had you do things outside of your core degree qualifications. So, you know, you had to pick, classes from different departments. And looking back, I think it was really helpful that those were the requirements, because that helped to really broaden my thinking into a lot of other fields, like David said. And I think that has made it easier for me to think about different careers and to really progress in them in a quicker way.
For me, the formative experience was the Rice Alliance, where I used to do volunteers. You know, the Rice Alliance, I think you know, that's one of, they have the largest business competitions, etc. In the world. There's the students coming from all over the world presenting the companies. I mean, like 2 years I was volunteering. It was really a great experience there, which really, I would really say it was unconventional wisdom as far as me is concerned, because as a chemical engineer, like as Ima as a chemical engineer too, but, you know, you always think very narrow, because it's huge investments, you know, you avoid risk taking if you are in chemical fields, but, you know, it gave me a different perspective. I think the people at Rice is really awesome, including the faculty, the staff. I mean, they were really cordial. It was everything new for me, because, you know, we have different cultures. Coming to the West is a totally different experience. You know, I felt home at Rice, you know, to be honest. I did enjoy the program. In fact, I came back in 2017, our 5-year reunion, and I was probably the only one traveled long for our reunion, 5-year reunion all the way from here. So I really had a good time. I mean, I enjoyed the overall programming, including the fitness center. You know, I used to spend some good time there. So I would say the whole experience was awesome. Like, thank you.
Yeah, I would say for me, a couple of things come to mind. One is this student organization I joined called Design for America. So you get the opportunity to work in groups for local clients each semester to solve like their actual real problems. So that was really interesting to me, to get a realistic sense of what problems you run into, like from an organizational perspective, and how to work with people in different backgrounds and academic interests. So, for example, we worked with the Texas Children's Hospital to design an independent dressing device. So you just get to work on things that never would be able to otherwise. So I think it was really cool that Rice has collabs in organizations like that to really get your feet wet and teach you how to be a leader and how to listen to people and work together. And I would say that from an academic perspective, definitely like senior design for the engineering students, and also some of the summer courses abroad are also really helpful just to understand different points of view and different cultures, and also I think when you're immersed in a very hands-on and diverse environment, you also learn how to think on your feet and work under pressure. So those things are definitely really helpful in my day-to-day now as well.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. So definitely what I'm hearing is transformative courses, the opportunities you get through the courses, whether that's gaining technical skill and understanding how to use those skills in the day-to-day, the guest speakers that you might get, whether it's through courses or through programs like this All Together programming that has over 100 events that you can tune into, the flexibility to adapt your courses based on your interests, and RISE-specific events like the RISE Alliance or student organizations where you get to solve real-world problems in a hands-on way. And then definitely the collegiality, the happiest campus award for a reason, right? The supportive environment that you feel when you're at RISE, connecting with those who are faculty, staff, peers, students, alumni, and the opportunity to study abroad if you're able to participate in that. Definitely great programs, definitely transformational programming. Thank you for sharing how those have been helpful for you. So also reflecting back at your time at RISE, what resources or centers did you find most helpful in preparing you for your career all over the world? All of you are in different parts of the globe now. And so you've touched on ways you've gained opportunities to adapt, but were there specific resources that you would recommend students to best utilize as they're preparing for their success in global opportunities as well?
Well, in looking back, I wish I had reached out more interdepartmentally. You always seem to be so busy, but I think it would have been a great experience to learn more about students in other disciplines. Even although I also took classes outside the architecture department, like economics, but I think what is going on nowadays is very exciting. We didn't have that back then because the technology wasn't there. So I'm in a way learning about it, and I think that what we're doing now, getting on board early on with the Alumni Association, really, when you're at school, you don't realize that you will not always be there. Start early on, build professional relationships, build interdepartmental relationships, as I said, look into other disciplines. And the reason why I'm not so familiar with the resources nowadays is because I went back in '86. So that would be very outdated. I was very lucky to have a number of professors actually visit me in Mexico. So that was awesome to me. It was an outwardly experience, and that really motivated and helped me in moving forward. So I'm sure that cultivating those relationships nowadays with professors will result in similar experiences.
And go next. So when I was at school, I can't remember what it was called, but I worked for the Career Services Department for a number of years, so maybe sophomore to senior year. And so it was really interesting just to see what the department was doing and to just really be on top of all of the events that were happening. And then after school, after I graduated and went to Wall Street, then I kept in touch with the Career Services Department and, was able to give back and to, bring, current students up to Wall Street and do different events. And still stay in touch with the school, which I found really nice. And so I would definitely recommend that for any current students, is to get involved with the Career Services Department. I think the other thing that I didn't even realize, I realized it more as I've gotten older and progressed through my career, is how nice our alumni are. So whenever I've reached out to anybody, and that includes alumni or like parents of alumni or, just anybody in the community, people are so nice and willing to help. And I think, current students should feel free to, explore using that method. So, this event is great, but if you want to talk to somebody, I'm sure they'll be willing to grab a coffee with you or get on a phone call with you. So, I think I didn't realize that the community was so supportive. And obviously for my first job, going into Wall Street, that's a difficult thing to do. And the people who helped me were all Rice alums. So they were Rice alums who had gotten into banking in Houston. They were Rice alums who had gotten into banking on Wall Street. So, people are there to help.
Same from my side as well. So I was being an international student, it's important for you to land after Rice in a job so that you pay back all your loans. So we fortunately we have a very good career development, exclusive for MBA program. We have Mary, Bergeron, and there's a few people who are no more working, but they're all Jennifer, they're all Shannon, they're all so nice. Good advice, especially because they know how to what all the companies to target for international students, because they have preference, right? So that which was really helpful. And on top of it, we have a career development center from Rice also, but and there was a lot of tour, we go for a tour to companies so that we get an opportunity to interact. At Jones School, we have every Thursday, we have a patio, and many of those patios were sponsored many times from companies. They come there for a recruitment or kind of networking. So you can get to learn directly almost every week from different companies, the recruiters. So it was there's a lot to learn from them also, like what they're doing and all. So it was really a vibrant experience, in terms of developing your career path. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for me, I'll definitely echo with what Jeannie said earlier about the CCD. I think it's a really great resource, both in terms of, making individual appointments with staff members there to do a resume review or to do a mock interview. I think especially during the busy interview season, everyone's willing to help. And if you run out of mock interview peers, you can always, talk to someone from the CCD to get more of an in-depth perspective. And also the externship opportunities I think are really great. Both, I think I did one in the winter and two in the summer, all in very different kind of industries and functions, but it was just a quick way to spend a day or two to learn about a different industry that you haven't been exposed to, and see what skill sets are valued in that field, and see if you can be a good fit for it. So without actually doing a full-on internship. So I found that to be very helpful as well.
Awesome, thank you. So it sounds like a couple of key themes that are not only important throughout your time at Rice, but also we are seeing are increasingly important across the world, is cross-institutional, cross-departmental collaboration, collaborating with people who have different diverse perspectives or diverse technical skills or experiences. When you bring those people together and you get to work with them, you get to see different perspectives. And so that can be from either taking courses in different minors or majors or programs, to getting involved with different programs, whether it's site visits through career centers or through your school's programming as well, getting involved in different ways to explore, using your time at Rice to explore, to begin early, build bridges with others. And this is one thing that we're definitely seeing these days. We're so tuned into the virtual, but one thing virtual can't really do the same way is that human connection. And humans love to help other humans, although the media might tell us otherwise. The truth is, we know when we help others, we feel better. And we know that Rice alumni are really phenomenal at helping students, helping fellow alumni. There's an entire platform called Sally Portal. If you're not familiar with it, definitely recommend you check it out, because the entire platform is based on the premise that Rice alums and students want to help each other and mentor each other. And Alexa, can you put that link in the chat if you haven't already? Thank you. So Alexa had a wonderful workshop on Sally Portal earlier today too. So if you're not sure what that is, it's a platform where you can identify Rice alums who are in the fields that you're interested in, and they've said, I want to mentor Rice students or Rice alumni, and you can reach out to them. So there are different avenues where you can connect or identify or reach out to alums or peers who are upperclassmen maybe, or people who have gone through your shoes or what you're planning on going through throughout your time at Rice and beyond, whether it's while you're at Rice or as an alum, as you're exploring different options, which now we're all, adapting in this world, and we're seeing how these resources can be available not only while we're on campus, but also beyond. As the panelists also mentioned, the Career Services Office for the undergrads and the grads that are not in the business school is called the CCD, the Center for Career Development, and for the business school, it's the CDO, the Career Development Office, both putting on great resources and programs, and a lot of that is now readily available at your fingertips too online, and both serving alums as well as students throughout your life as a Rice owl. Another thing that definitely we want to remind everyone that you're seeing firsthand right now from this panel is how nice Rice alumni are and how valuable their feedback can be. So just to take a moment to thank each and every one of these wonderful panelists for the great feedback that they've shared with us so far. And we're looking forward to continuing to hear their feedback. Another way that Rice alumni are very nice and love to help students is through the Owl Edge externship program that Emma was discussing. And I believe Alexa has generously put in that link as well in the chat. So if you're not sure what that is, definitely take a look. It's what we call our job shadowing program. And it does happen over the winter and the spring break. And actually applications are up now for students who are interested in participating in externships. So thank you all for that great feedback. We have a couple of questions from the chat that are really good, and I would love to ask the panelists. The first one is, what considerations do you wish you had taken into account beforehand after having settled overseas for work?
Well, in my case, I had an interesting experience because I did complete my master's degree a semester early. I worked on my thesis over the summer, so I had the chance to come back to Mexico. And since I'm Mexican, the real challenge for me was readapting back into Mexico. With all I had learned and with life at Rice and with all those resources and the international experience, it was actually a bit difficult and a bit confusing. But out of that, I will say that the most important thing was that I learned how to bridge between the US and Mexico. So that is something that I would really advise people to go into. A lot of the work I have done has been directed into assisting US companies work in Mexico and vice versa, or bringing technology from the US or, as I said, in Germany into Mexico. So just get started, get your feet wet. Of course, as I said, going into diverse environments is always helpful in that regard. Put yourself out there by writing, by getting involved in activities beyond your own profession. And as I said, for me, it was a natural in a way because I live in Mexico. We are very close to the US, and it's an international place in a way, or in many ways, I should say.
Would any of the other panelists like to add anything?
Yeah, I think for me, besides the opportunity to work in a different country, within a different function, I think the social aspect is also something I considered, because when you're surrounded in a city with your friends and you're familiar with everything going on, it can sometimes feel comfortable. But I think taking a step out of your comfort zone can also be rewarding. It's definitely challenging at times, but I think also rewarding in the sense that you need to be more proactive in reaching out to people and to establish your presence in the organization. So it's not necessarily as linear as working in the same place in a familiar environment. So it would take some more effort for sure.
Yeah, so moving into a new place is definitely it's challenging. For me, it was, even though I'm moving back to India, it was kind of because I worked in a different part, but now I came back, it was again, I was starting from scratch, networking, especially when you're starting a business, you need to have a network. So it takes some time, but when we persevere, I think people are willing to help. So definitely it's a good opportunity. I mean, it looks a little uncomfortable in the beginning, but I think it works out better in the near term or long term. Thank you.
All right. So stretch, be willing to adapt, and learn more about the culture you're wanting to go to. Maybe connect with Rice alumni there, or if there are opportunities to learn more about that culture throughout your time at Rice through studying abroad. Definitely getting involved for sure. Definitely hearing some wonderful advice. I've also included in the chat a link to a resource that Rice students and alums have access to via Handshake called Going Global. And that has city and country specific guides. If you're looking to go to a specific country or city, you'll see some guides that are in there that have tips and resources as well. But definitely don't underestimate the power of Rice alums who live in those countries, who have, like Ramesh was saying earlier, developed these local groups of alumni who will be able to definitely share insider's perspective as you're adjusting to these different countries or as you're considering these different countries to move to. Awesome. Jeannie, did you have anything else that you wanted to share on the topic?
No, I think that was, I found it really helpful to connect with the alumni. So just like before, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. So another great question for the panelists who are pursuing a career not directly related to your majors. How have your majors helped you in general? And if you have a chance to pick your college major again, what would it be?
First, because I think I already addressed that. So I came in wanting to do computer science, and I did it. I guess in a way, I almost felt like it didn't matter what my major was. I think because at Rice, you're really forced to get a broad education. So, whatever you choose to do, it's, you'll get that particular skill set. But I think, if I had to do it again, I'd probably do the same thing. And, because it was really everything else outside of my major that I feel is really helpful for my career.
Yeah, I think for me, two things that chemical engineering taught me was first to work under pressure and also to navigate ambiguity in on certain circumstances, because a lot of the times the problems you're solving, even in an academic environment, are a bit ambiguous. They don't necessarily have a right or wrong answer, and you need to understand how different pieces of the puzzle kind of work together and how the inputs and outputs relate to each other. And I think the more hands-on aspect of engineering also give you the opportunity to actually work in a group, so it can help you understand how you play as a team member and as an individual contributor. I think those more of the soft skills learning and leadership development are also very important. I think if I had to choose my major again, I would probably do something related to econ, just because I didn't really take anything related to economics or business in undergrad. And I think it would probably help to understand some of the business fundamentals. But that's just for me. Yeah.
One thing that I like to share, if I may, is if you go into a field that is not related to your discipline, don't be self-conscious about it. As I said, when I came back to Mexico, I went into an industrial startup. And I was afterwards, when I went back into architecture, very self-conscious about it when I presented my resume, and only later did I realize how important that experience was. So don't be self-conscious about it. It will all come together if you stay true to yourself and to what you definitely learn at Rice.
Okay, so definitely you can go into different fields with different majors. Don't feel like you have to have your major figured out. And one of the neat things that we've talked about throughout this panel so far has been the opportunity to get to take courses in other fields so you can explore different courses, but don't feel like you have to be limited by what you think your major can do, because you can do many other things. And definitely that unconventional wisdom that you have is going to help you succeed in many other fields, as you've seen from all of our panelists' success, changing career pivots and sharing those insights of how they've gone about doing that. You do have access to a resource. So for our students and alumni, you have access to a resource called What Can I Do with This Major in Handshake, which I put in the chat, the link to. And that just gives you an idea of what are the most popular paths that people choose to take with majors. But the truth is, you don't need X major to get to Y job, as a lot of our alums have been telling us today. It's those skills that you have gained and used in one place that you will take and gain and use somewhere else, or what we call transferable or flex skills. You can take them and flex them in many other places, whether that's from your student organization experience or your residential college leadership experiences or your class projects or other places. All of these skills that you're gaining throughout your educational experience are what are going to help you pivot in the future in different career options. And so as you're considering, maximizing your opportunities at Rice, don't necessarily feel like you're limited by your major per se. That's another reminder that on that Sally Portal resource that we mentioned earlier, you can actually explore Rice alums based on their majors who have gone into the fields you want. And you might be surprised to see how much of this variability you'll see. You can get one major and go into many other fields with that. And so you can hear it firsthand from those who have done it. So thank you to those who have shared today to hear about that. And thank you, Alexa, for putting that link back in the chat as well. We have another great question that's come in through the Q&A. Because some current student opportunities have changed due to COVID risks, what would you recommend current Rice students do to maximize their more limited experiences this year and perhaps beyond?
I would say the LinkedIn is really helpful. So I see there are a couple of current students who are sending me a link, invite me to be part of the network. I've accepted me at the moment I saw they're from Rice, they're willing to reach out to me. I'm willing to accept do that. I'm sure it is same true for all the Rice alumni. So that's a very good tool to utilize it. And then I recently found that Sally Portal was awesome. I registered myself, and I found that there are other alumni also registered. So I tried to scan through who are all there, from India. So there's a lot of people who are there. So you can, so the students can utilize that opportunity to, it has got a nice filters, even country-wise or other professional-wise. So that would be a good opportunity. You can reach out to them and feel free to ask. There's nothing wrong in asking. And that's what I did. Being an international student, a new experience in Houston, getting a job is definitely challenging. But I need to ask. I'm looking for an opportunity here, or so. So it's. I think this too would be a good networking tool. And as well as your own students who can guide you, your classmates or colleagues can guide you over there. But I'm sure the other one is the Career Development Center. You guys are really awesome. Even post-graduations, the people are in connection with the Rice, so they can utilize that.
I remember that I was on Wall Street during the great financial crisis, and a similar situation happened with all of the graduates that year in 2009, where it was very difficult for them to get jobs. And it was very difficult for a lot of people to get jobs in 2009. And I think people forget that, everybody else is in the same boat. And so the guys that kept going, and, maybe they went back for another degree, maybe they went into a field that was similar, but not exactly what they wanted, and that kept pushing through, those were the guys that a few years later landed what they wanted. And so I think you just have to keep doing stuff. You can't just say it's COVID, so what can I do?
It's very important to stay flexible in times like this. Even though it feels like a first, it is not. It has happened before through history, and to some of us, even in our lifetimes. So you are not alone. It's at your disposal. And one specific advice I would like to give, because I learned the hard way, is get specific people to get lost in the cyber world. So even in this, be very specific about your search or your targets, or be personal about your follow-up, and that can get you further.
Yeah, and I think to David's point, having some of the informal, virtual coffee chats are great, and everyone's familiar with, having a chat on Zoom. So I think it's actually really cool to be able to connect to people virtually, literally from, with people from any part of the world. So I would definitely encourage anyone who feels a bit limited to take advantage of the opportunity there, and also maybe to use this time to reflect on what your professional and personal goals are, and maybe there is a project that you've always wanted to do but you're too busy, but use this time to try something different that you've never done before professionally, or to strengthen some of the skills you want to from a long-term career development perspective.
Awesome. So wonderful feedback. I'm hearing that the humanity, we're resilient, we overcome. And part of the way that we can overcome is by building bridges with other people, connecting with alums through LinkedIn, through Sally Portal. Don't feel limited by the mediums by which you can connect. These are just some of those alumni opportunities to be able to connect. The entire Owl Together week is one of those examples. The regional alumni groups, like we talked about, there are a number of different ways. And also maybe reconnecting with those student organizations that you might have joined or been a member of, or even helped form when you were at Rice. And then thinking short and long-term goals. So sure, sometimes some things might be limited right now, where things are adapting to this new normal of virtual or blended hybrid, thinking of how can you best position yourself, how can you best prepare yourself, whether that's through your resilience that you're going to keep trying different opportunities, or building the skills that seeking out opportunities to develop those skills that will be helpful as you're adapting to this new world of work, or these new transitions that we've gone into. And everyone here is a testament that we've been able to adapt. We're a couple months into this, and that adaptability, that resilience, definitely, we don't want to take it for granted. We do want to give credit where credit is due, for sure, that we have the skills to do this. We've been doing this in different ways, and it's a matter of taking these skills and thinking of where do you want to be next, and how are they going to help you get there. So awesome. Thank you for the wonderful feedback. We are running a little tight on time, so we might have time for one or two more questions, but definitely before we wrap up, there's a question that I would like to ask all of the panelists. If there are two key takeaways that you want there to be from today's discussion, what would they be?
Well, I will not be original in saying that you need to hold on and stay true, meaning that first you have to take care of yourself, because you're very valuable, and because you need to be part of the team, and you need to assist others. So stay safe, do everything you have to do for your well-being, and stay true. Well, you have a role in the ship, and keep doing it. And the Rice is a wonderful foundation. It's clearly and obviously a very part of our lives, and has been a very significant part of our education and formation. So hold on, stay true.
Yeah. So we have the theme unconventional wisdom. So I would say the students that we can be unconventional, like, chase your dreams, maybe take a calculated risk, but, don't need to worry too much, but, things will fall in place. Definitely. That's my one thing. The other one is build on your network. Like, once you are out of the college, it's important that whom you are connected, so you don't know where the help is going to come from. It's not only just help, but like we are also extending help. So we are all thriving um, as a good network, not only with Rice alumni and the Rice community, but also in your local community, wherever you are. Like Jingy from Hong Kong, like wherever. Like I'm from here, and David is from. I'm sure we're all helping each other, thriving, taking our community to the next level. So yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, think unconventional. The second is build on your network. Yeah, thank you.
I can go next. So I guess it seems like one of the themes is to reach out to the community. So there's lots of people around. Maybe you're stuck at home during COVID and it doesn't feel that way, but there's actually lots and lots of people in the community that can help you. And I think the corollary to that is you have to give back to the community. And so, we're all in it together. And so, it goes both ways.
And for me, the two biggest takeaways or learnings for me are one, to stay open-minded. And this goes without saying that I'm sure people who join the webinar and are already more open-minded than the average person. But I think just staying open-minded when opportunities come and when new learnings and new things happen, stay curious and open-minded to new opportunities, even if you're not necessarily an expert in a certain field or you haven't done something, doesn't mean you're not good at it, and you can always learn from it. And I think the second takeaway is to be proactive. I think a lot of opportunities might not seem very obvious, but if you're persistent and proactive and are strategic about how you use your time and resources to achieve your goals, usually things will work out.
Awesome. So a couple things. We are better together. We are all together all over the world. Thank you for all of those great takeaways that hopefully we've all been able to reflect on to some extent today. I challenge each and every one of those attendees that are here listening, tuned in to us, to think of one or two ways that you're going to connect. You can feel it, this whole pandemic and everything that's happening, you can feel really isolated, but every single person here unanimously agrees that when you use those skills of building bridges with others, it's going to help you not only in the short term through these challenges that we might be facing today, as well as in the future. These are investments in your personal relationships, in your growth, in your professional and career development. And if you're not sure how to go about it, or it seems intimidating or overwhelming, don't worry. That is exactly why there is a Center for Career Development. We are here and happy to work with you. Or if you're in the business school, the Career Development Office, the CDO. And so don't feel like you need to know all of this, or like you have to have all of this figured out. If there are some topics that you're like, oh, that sounded interesting today, but I don't know how to go about it, that's exactly what we're here for. We have drop-ins every day virtually, and appointments and workshops and different Q&A sessions and opportunities to answer your questions. You can also reach out via LinkedIn, via Sally Portal, via Handshake, via our emails that are on our website under Meet the Team. So don't be shy. We're here and happy to help you. And so are all the wonderful alumni, as well as the Alumni Office that's put this wonderful event and whole week's program together. Thank you so very much for each and every person that's tuned in today, no matter what time of the day it is where you are, as well as special shout out to each of our panelists all over the globe who shared some very valuable, priceless information. We're starting to get some great things in the chat. So thank you all to the panelists, and thank you for the great questions that came in through the Q&A. We wish we could have gotten through all of them, but we hope you enjoyed the answers that we were able to get through.
Awesome. And I just want to say thank you so much to our panelists and to Yvette for doing an incredible job moderating, and to all of our attendees for tuning in today. I think this session shows the power of the Rice Network, and so we encourage you, as we've said several times, to take advantage of the Rice Network, utilize Sally Portal, use it to get help or offer help if you're in that position. And as I said, we have over 100 events taking place during this week as a part of OWL Together, our virtual Families Weekend and Homecoming and Reunion Week extravaganza. So I'll put that link in the chat. I encourage you to check out some of the events coming up later this week. And thank you all so much again, and have a great night, day, morning, whatever time it is for you. So thank you so much. I hope to see you soon.